After months and months and months of preparation,
All right.
the day has come.
Today we get to install a set of Alcon brakes we've been working on for the G82. Jonathan has been modeling a bunch of stuff for this, working with Alcon on trying to come up with a solution for a big brake kit for these cars. And you see we got some 3D models that Jonathan is very proud of that he's been messing with.
Yep.
This kit I am super pumped on. Stock brakes are actually pretty good in these modern cars, and they kind of have to be because this thing's guessing 3,900 pounds. So to be able to stop a car of that mass, you've got to have good brakes. And we've got some good brakes in our history of working with Alcon on this stuff. You know, our F8X kit was a super solid kit for the GT More. Obviously that thing stopped the GT More at Road America yeah, you went for a couple rides in that thing. Road America, 180 plus miles an hour, stopping that thing. But the factory brakes are super solid on these cars. So we didn't want to just upfit that kit on this more modern car because of how good the stock brakes are. So we dug in pretty hard with Alcon using this massive GT3 caliper. This is a GT3 motorsport caliper that Alcon uses on various applications. I mean, look at this thing. This thing's huge.
Massive caliper, massive pads.
Super light too. You get these massive 30 mil thick pads. You know, I don't think there's any other kit on the market using pads this thick, and not just 30 mil thick pads, but a lot of pad volume too. So a lot of mass to these things to help slow that thing down. Bigger is not always better. It does add some weight, right? But we did end up going with a 390 mil rotor, 36 mil wide, which the GT4s, other cars are using a 390 mil rotor and fitting under 18s. And with this low profile, it's not very tall, caliper, we're able to fit this thing under 18s as well. So pretty impressive to have 390 mil with this massive caliper, these massive pads, as a really awesome motorsport solution for the G8X, for those that are really aggressively tracking their cars because they need the brakes.
Oh, for sure. And Phil said that with the bigger rotor does come more weight, but it is actually still lighter overall than the stock rotor is at a 380 versus a 390.
Yeah, we're gonna get a couple weights of some things, compare to show a little bit of a difference. You know, these are the pads that are used for the F8X kit, and yeah, we got a lot more material there, which means less consumable cost. Caliper, I mean, look at this thing. This thing is amazing. It's super, super wide. I think this thing's lighter. We'll get a weight of that too.
Oh, definitely. And it's all single piece as well, so it's stiffer, more rigidity throughout the entire braking zone.
Yeah, you know, some people want these pins, which, yes, it's a little bit more for a pad change because you can't just pop those pins out and do a pad, but with those fat pads, not too hard, and it's just 2 bolts.
It's just 2 bolts, slide the caliper off, pads out, pads in, call it a day.
All right, let's get a couple weights of some things and start throwing this thing on.
All right.
I can't even tell you how excited I am for this thing. I've been waiting for this. I mean, you've been modeling.
Been months in the making.
Yeah, you've been modeling on this thing for quite a while. We've gone through a bunch of revisions of these brackets. Now have the final of trying to figure out how to space it, because this caliper being as wide as it is does mean that you kind of want to try to get it sucked back in a little bit for spoke clearance. It doesn't fit under stock wheels, but the reality is, if you're in the market for a kit like this,
you're using some big wheels.
You're using something that's not stock for the wheel size. So let's get cracking on getting some weights and getting this baby on the car. All right, we weighed the stock caliper. That was about 9.8 pounds. We got the Alcon 6.4. What is that? 3.4?
Yeah, 3.4.
Yeah, 3.4. There it is. All right, so 3.4 pounds lighter for the Alcon caliper. That's pretty awesome. Stock rotor about to go on. What do we got?
28.
28 even. Let's see. 26.8. So not a massive weight difference. However, still lighter, bigger, better heatsink, better rotor system as well with that 2-piece floating design. So losing weight with a bigger rotor, pretty impressive. Another thing to point out is that these rotors almost look used by the markings in them. That's because they are pre-bedded. Every Alcon package that we offer has pre-bedded rotors. Getting the rotors pre-bedded has greatly increased the life on these things. We were going through them, I don't know, almost half. Dave, how fast were we going through these things? I mean, it increased life, I'd say near double by getting them bedded in. So this is a really important feature to be built in standard on this package. All right.
Sick.
Step one of installing this package is that the factory system uses studs as it's a radial mounted caliper. So that was one of the tricks with coming up with a bracket for this, is needing to have a bracket that would also work with a certain caliper for this. You got to pop these studs out as step one. And then this bracket bolts in place. Oh, I think that way. Hey. Before we get started on putting the rotor and bracket on, we are going to go ahead and remove the dust shield bracket. The dust shield. You could trim the dust shield as well if you wanted to, but we're going to go ahead and remove it, increase as much airflow to the back of the rotor as possible. Dust shield off, bracket on its way on. Bracket on. We worked with them quite a bit on the positioning of how far over they could get that stud so that we could try to increase wheel clearance as much as possible. Let's get a rotor.
A rotor. Rotor time.
Rotor, where are my retaining screws?
Oh, I got you, dog. Don't you even worry.
Beautiful. Retain that rotor.
Well, I'd be retaining, dog.
All right, now for the main event, the big old caliper. You know, some people are looking for the calipers that can have pins in these, like a bridge, a bolt-on bridge, so that you can do a pad swap easy. However, with these absolutely massive 30 mil pads, you're probably not changing pads that often, and this monoblock caliper just is a monster of stiffness and rigidity. So yeah, we're pretty thrilled with this, and let's throw this baby on. Got this baby on, looking amazing. This thing is massive. The caliper's massive, the rotor's massive. Now to make sure the wheels that we had on this thing are gonna clear, just to be sure. We got a 19 by 10 that we're gonna throw on this thing. Let's see what we got. Oh man.
Oh, then we got tons of clearance.
That thing looks amazing. Let's get you, viewers, a closer look. Look at this beauty. Tons of room. And this is with the 1910, which we know that really for most people that are using this type of brake package are probably going to be on a 1911. So
1811?
1911.
1911? Okay.
Probably 1911. The tire sizes available for 18s are a little bit limited. So 19 is kind of going to be the focus to start with on these things.
All right.
But we know that the GT4s run 18s and people are going to want those takeoff tires. So are still mindful of being able to fit an 18 over these things. Actually have more clearance to the barrel on this 390 mil package than the factory 380. So this thing is looking spicy. We're back test fitting some more things on this big ol' Alcon 390 mil package for the G8X cars. Wanted to go ahead and do a second test fit on a second car because, well, it's always a good idea to test fit on multiple cars to make sure you don't run into any issues. Made a few little tweaks on the bracket design and time to get this big 390 mil super wide, except these massive wide 30 mil pads, test fit on the G87. We're not going to install it and leave it on the G87 just yet because we've got a few more tests we want to knock out before we commit to going to the big breaks, but these are definitely going to land on this thing at some point, and I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, look at that.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful. Big old 390 by 36 mil rotor going on this thing. While we're in here, Jonathan has made a couple tweaks to the F8X brake deflectors that will now also work with the G8X. Lighting a little bit poor there, but that is going to feed into that opening in the backing plate, deflect that air right into the rotor to gain some of that brake cooling to add some consistency and life to the brakes. Got these beauties installed, test fit, everything is looking choice. So look at these massive, massive pads. This thing is just beefy. 30 mil thick pads, this super wide, super strong caliper, 390 mil disc. This is not just an upfit of a different package. This is a true motorsport solution for this chassis because we think this chassis deserves a real primo motorsports option. Also, the fronts, now that we have this sign off, are all good, ready to go on the shelf. Don't have a rear just yet, but we got something in the works. And Austin over here just said, can you run it without the rears? Absolutely you can. The balance of this package moves bias to the rear about 4%, which ultimately is what you're looking for in a motorsport type application. And then we'll tweak on that a little bit further once we get that rear spec'd out. Stay tuned for more information on that coming up.
We got brakes.
We got brakes, and big brakes that are effective with these massive pads. I don't know how many times I said that, but just reiterating.
Big pads.
Massive pads in this thing. Massive pads, massive rotor, really an incredible ability to keep this thing woed down repeatedly under the speeds and abuse that these cars are gonna see. So thrilled to have this option now available at BimmerWorld.com. We've got it. Thank you to Alcon for helping us with this project. Thanks to Kazee for working through a bunch of stuff on this project to help make this come to life. Super excited to start pumping out more G8X stuff. This is a big one. I mean, I'm thrilled with this. I can't wait to get this set on a car on track coming soon. Stay tuned for more content as we are going to dive in with more G8X stuff for these cars. And the best way to do that?
To like, comment, and subscribe.
That's right.
Ready to go? Should be an awesome race weekend. We are ready to kill it this year. It's good. It's going to be a wild ride.